another major mountain stage, the second major one, I'd argue, because Campo Imperatore is not a major one in my eyes, just a mountain stage. We had the one to Crans-Montana, and now we've got on stage 16 the one to Monte Bondone. Easier than a Crans-Montana, which I'd argue it still is, despite the fact that it is more altitude meters. I think 5,200 in the Crans-Montana stage, 5,650 in this stage, which is actually crazy. But lots of action can happen on this stage still. First climb, Pasto Santa Barbara. This is about 60 kilometers into the start of the race. This is 12 kilometers at 8.4%. Then Matassone climb, which is basically a 11.4 kilometer climb at 5.6%. Fake news climb though, because the first half is just harder, like 8 to 9%, while the second half has a kilometer that literally goes downhill. So that takes away a lot from the average of the climb. The second last climb is not the hardest climb. It's got a few flat kilometers in there as well. 17.5 kilometers though, very long at 5.5% average. While the Monte Bondone climb, after a 10-kilometer valley, is the final climb, which is 20.3 kilometers at 6.7%, which is a hard climb.
But this show, as always, is brought to you by Zwift. Whether you're just starting out on your cycling journey or are looking for those final tune-ups ahead of a big event or race, Zwift is the online cycling platform that makes things fun, as well as being the named sponsor of the Tour de France firm avec Zwift and this podcast. If you want to find out more about Zwift, the platform, the race, go to Zwift.com, and if you want to try it out, you can get a free 7-day trial.
If anything early needs to happen on this stage, one, you need to have satellite riders. Even though the valleys between the climbs are not overly insane, it's still useful to have them because the climbs have kilometers that are flatter. Like I said, the Matassone climb is flat near the top. The Serrada climb, the second last one, is flat in the middle. And even on the Monte Bondone climb in the middle, there's flat kilometers. So it's useful to have a satellite rider up the road if you're a GC rider. Next to that, I would say that the second last climb is not hard enough to use as a jumping pad to attack on. If you want to go early, is it not the early kilometers of the Matassone climb halfway the stage? And is anybody going to be insane enough to do that on this stage?
I don't see it. I think this is going to be a shootout on the last 8Ks, 8%, and people pace, and it's a watt per kilo test, and someone might lose 25, 35 seconds. I don't see huge gaps here. Now, I'm sure it's 5,600 meters of climbing. There could be bad weather, but it's low gradient climbing. It's not too high altitude. So there's not those difficulty factors which really can increase time gaps. So, yeah, I think this could be kind of like Fedaya, Benji, the Fedaya stage, except without even as bigger gaps because it's not as hard. So I think this could be like Blockhouse as well. I see Joao Almeida winning this. He'll be dropped at the start. There's 3Ks, 9% at the start. He'll be dropped and he'll come back and win this. I'm telling you. Like, that is what's going to happen. This is look at this, a 1 hour climb, right? With a steep bit of start. Everyone will get too excited and he'll come back and win. Anyway, I'm not holding my hopes out for this stage.
I agree with that. I think the breakaway opportunity is also there depending on who will control a stage like this. Even though the last climb is very long, which makes it harder for a breakaway to win, I still think the possibility is there because we're talking about 200-kilometer stages. There's like 3 to 4 200-kilometer mountain stages in this Giro, which traditional cycling fans of the Giro, they're getting really happy about this
That's
stage.
right. Venues listen to all stakeholders. Shorter transitions, but the trade-off is I'm going to go to 200-kilometer high mountain stages. How do you like that? So everyone's kind of got a little hat tip to them.
I'm a bit disappointed that all these mountain stages don't have a bit more like hills at the start to make the break formation phase a bit more intriguing. It's basically flat and then the mountains start about 40, 50 kilometers in, which might lead to a break formation phase of 1 hour, but I guess we'll figure it out once the race happens.